Good evening, everybody. We're coming in live to you from Melbourne and also from Sri Lanka or perhaps the Caribbean. I'm not quite sure about that background there, so we can be anywhere. So, seriously, welcome everybody who may be viewing this video. Welcome, Sanji. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time every week. I really appreciate it co-hosting this event. So my name is Anthea Alexander. I work as a wellness coach and I met Sanji a couple of months ago, Yogi Sanjivana, and basically we came up with this idea together of hosting weekly events on the theme of living consciously. So that's like the broad theme that we talk about. And then so many different topics come out from under that theme. And this evening's theme is about caring for Mother Nature. And this is something that's very close to my heart. Ever since I can remember, I've always loved plants and trees and animals and people and seas and lakes and really felt a beautiful love and connection with them. And so I would love to discuss this topic and what it means to be connected to Mother Nature and be a part of it, and ways that we can connect even more closely if that's something that you're interested in doing, which I certainly am
Mm.
always interested in becoming closer to Mother Nature and all her creations. So I'll pass you over to Yogi Sanjivana or Sanji, and so he can introduce himself and tell you a bit about what he does. But just quickly before I do that, so with my work as a wellness coach, I help people coaching them one-to-one to lose weight, gain weight, maintain weight, depending on what you're wanting to achieve. Also to increase your energy and to work on specific health issues if there are areas, health goals that you're wanting to achieve. So if that's something that's of interest to you, feel free to reach out to me and we can have a chat, make a time for a chat and see if we're fit to work together. And I'd love to hear from you. Now over to my friend, and
Thank you, Anthea. So I'm Sanji, and many people call me Sanji, and meditation teacher. We do lot of things like from spiritual counseling, life coaching. Goes all the way up to lot of charity work we do. So yeah, like Anthea said, any of you can contact us anytime, and even through these videos or comments or any place. And our contacts are also there if needed. So today's topic is a beautiful topic, which I am very inspired. And Anthea brings beautiful topics each week, and so uh, and she's well prepared also. So yeah, I believe this is a great topic, and this is where we came from, and who we are, and what we associate, and at some point will be ending up also. So actually, though we try to separate and become artificial and think even the plastics we create in the most uh, first form of it, it comes from nature. Then they may be petroleum based or anything, but still all these things, no, what we use. So maybe fossil fuels or something, but still it's a part of nature or even from millions of years, right? So yeah, still we are so connected. We eat food, we drink water, we breathe air, we feel our climates, no, all these things. However, we want to change it and all. So I think it's a perfect topic, and we can bring from different angles, different ways, and even the definitions of nature has a big meaning. We'll come to those things. So I'll hand it over to Anthea. Yeah, let's talk about this. It's a beautiful topic. Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. Thank you, Sanji, for introducing yourself and explaining a bit about what you do as your purpose in life and how you make your mark in this world. And for explaining a little bit about the topic, and thank you for your compliments about me being well prepared and also coming up with great topics. Okay, so what I wanted to start with was that I know that I have in the past seen that humans are like separate to animals and to plants and to nature, to the air, to the water, to the soil, to all the creations on earth. But the older and perhaps the wiser I get, I see and feel more of a connection towards everything, and that humans are actually a part of nature. So if nature is like a big circle, we're in the
Mhm.
middle. We're not on the outside. We're actually part of it all. So it's really, really important, I think, to take care of Mother Nature. As Sanji was explaining, we get our food from Mother Nature. We rely on Mother Nature to provide us with our food, our water, the air that we breathe on for our very survival, and more than our survival, for us to thrive in this life. And I hope that we can aim for more than survival. And I know that in the past years with the pandemic and with things that go on with different wars and conflicts, sometimes surviving is as much as we can do. But I do hope that we can aim for more than that, to thrive and to blossom and to really make a positive impact in this world. So that's my
And
hope
sorry,
for
yeah,
all
and
of
yeah,
us.
like there's a
Yes,
in the Australian region also there's a cyclone that's coming, right? We'll mention a little
yes,
about it also.
yes, sure. So Cyclone Alfred is impacting the eastern side of Australia. So basically between Queensland, I think it's more southern Queensland down, impacting northern New South Wales. So what I understand is that they're very concerned that when the cyclone moves over onto the land,
Mm.
that it's going to cause a lot of windy conditions, very, very strong winds, and also a huge amount of rain. So one of my friends and colleagues was telling me the other day, or I heard it on the radio, I heard it from somewhere, that
Mhm.
they're expecting to receive like 6 months of rain just with this cyclone over a
Mhm.
short period of time.
Shortly.
Yeah, so what that means is that there will be flash flooding, and that can put lives at risk, human lives,
Mm.
animal lives, buildings. So
Mm.
our prayers are
Yeah, sure,
definitely
you
with
know.
the people and the animals and the plants who are, impacted by this cyclone Alfred. And it just goes to show us as well, Sanji, how powerful nature
Oh,
is,
oh.
because
Uh,
cyclone and earthquakes, what else can I say? Tsunamis, bushfires are another
oh,
issue
yeah.
that is very impactful in Australia.
Mhm.
Mudslides, they all and other types of natural,
Earthquakes, volcanoes, no?
yeah, volcanoes, exactly. So they're all part of nature, and they're all uh, occurrences that can really impact us. And it just, yeah, shows us how immensely powerful nature
Mm.
is. Okay, just going on a little bit more from that. So we're all connected to nature. We're all a part of nature. We all share this planet. Uh, and what I wanted to mention, I was just doing a lovely prayer circle with my beautiful sister in Indonesia.
Mhm.
And it came to me, I was thinking about this topic just because it was coming up. And I was thinking about the word steward. And I looked up the word steward and what it means. So, like, there are stewards or stewardesses on,
Mhm.
they used to call them that, or they call them that now. I'm not quite sure, but on flights.
Right.
So, they're people who look after us just say when we're on a flight and bring us drinks and food and make sure that we're safe. And if there's a crash landing, they'll take care of us. So what a steward is, or a stewardess, is somebody who is responsible, a person who's responsible to take care of something. So I think that we can all be stewards or stewardesses of nature, of Mother Nature. So I might just stop there and hand it over to Sanji, because I would love to hear his thoughts and any other angles or things he would like to discuss about caring for Mother Nature.
Yeah. So, how to say, like, yeah, in some maybe 300 to 400 years ago, so there was actually some enlightened beings who came to Sri Lanka. So actually, the king here was going on hunting, deer hunting. And then these were very powerful people, it seems. And they actually came from India. And what happened was they had like, yeah, it says they mystically came. There are people who can elevate and do a lot of things like that. And there were surely before. They came here, and then the king on a specific, like a full moon day, uh, May, January, February, March, April, May, June, on June, month of June, and then the full moon of June, and then so the king was going on hunting, and he's king, right? And out of nowhere, he heard the sound like calling his name, just by his name. And the king would not like that, right? Like, he's like, who dares talk my name, no? Then he saw these saints on this rock. And then he asked, like, who dares to talk my name, no? And he said, like, we came from India. There was like a verse, ancient language verse. And one thing they said, like, to him, King, you are just the caretaker of this. Uh, you are not the owner. You cannot take life of others. And then he dropped. He was a wise king, maybe, hopefully, and then he dropped his bows and arrows and things, and they had asked a sequence of questions, because there was a mango tree nearby him, and they have asked, like, just to check his wisdom, like, king, do you see the mango tree near you? He said yes. And are there like more mango trees? No. Yes. There even mango trees, that are there trees that are not mango trees? So then he has like, king, you have relatives. And are there there is you, right? And then there's your relatives. Are there people like who are not your non-relatives? No. So actually, and here they are asked much more deeper than just ask. Surely, like, there are non-relatives and relatives and mango trees and non-mango trees, right? It's like obvious, no? No, they were asking. There's like all phenomena of consciousness, and then how the trees and the plants grow. So this was known by ancient people, how the consciousness of animals, or animated, they say, and non-animated. So they were questioning him about that. So actually, he passed that test. So then they taught him more deeper things. It is. So so they were knew so much, and one of the best advisors, they said, this is not yours. You are just the caretaker of it. But luckily, he understood. And then and the protector, like you said. So likewise, we all also have to take responsibility, because that's why we call Mother Nature, right? It's a beautiful term. So we protect our mother, right? And then and as you said, even people might think, oh, now we have all this sophisticated technology. Just see where your lithium battery comes from. All the plastics, maybe now cosmetics, all seems like coming from somewhere. No, everything seems plastic. The tires, no, everything. In a vehicle, what we use, wires, no, all. But their base and the roots of things are from Mother Nature, no? Maybe the first kind of minerals or something they take, or petroleum base, is a lot That's why they keep on doing that. So many things, many, even the pharmaceuticals have a petroleum base in it. Even the medicines we consume. That's why sometimes the body doesn't like it, it rejects it. Huh? So it's a petroleum base. So likewise, the food now, surely the artificial food and everything, but it's turned around. So but at least the first ingredients was from nature. So we come from a mother's womb. She's also natured by nature. Huh? And then no, she had to take food and water and no, and even support us through her uh, blood system, maybe. Huh? So then likewise, we come from nature, we are in nature, and someday we go back, no, to nature. And nature has a broad spectrum of this word. We'll slowly dig into that also later on. It's very fascinating.
It's very fascinating. And thank you for sharing that, Sanji, in terms of the cycle of life and death. So it includes, yeah, coming from nature, being supported by nature, and also returning to nature one day. And I also really respect what you said. It's about Mother Nature, and that doesn't just come from nowhere. The term Mother Nature has obviously come from
Mm.
somewhere. And I'm not saying that fathers don't do a great
Yeah,
job,
sure, sure.
but mother, when we think of a mother, we think of someone who nurtures and nourishes and takes care, as you say. Um, Carries a baby in her womb and shares all the like essential
Mm.
nutrients that the baby needs to grow and to develop, like its spine, its
Mhm.
nervous system, eyes, ears, all the senses, or their skin, everything. So it's just fascinating. And something else I wanted to share was that our body is made up of largely water, but the other elements of our body and also in the air are very much connected to the stars and the cosmos. So
Mhm.
even broader than our planet as such, there's elements in the stars that we carry within our bodies, which is just, I find it really, really fascinating and mind
Mhm.
blowing that everything is connected.
Sure, sure.
All right. So what else? I think that that's probably all I wanted to say to share just at the moment. But I would love to discuss a little bit more about connecting more with Mother Nature.
Mhm.
But at this point in time, have you got anything else you're wanting to share in terms of the broader topic?
Uh, yeah, like
Go ahead.
so the nature terminologies in many ancient doctrines. So some places it's called dharma or dhamma. So it's actually nature. And in some places it says sobhava dharma. So it's like the what you call the natural environment. So in the phrase of nature, it talks about everything inclusive, everything. So we are not a different thing. We are part of that. But soon as we try to isolate ourselves, we don't change it actually. We think we do, but actually what we are doing is we are like limiting ourselves or separating or even becoming sick. And how to say, we have physical problems, mental problems, all that because of trying to separate ourselves. So there was a nice example, Anthea. Like we are like I have told this maybe me. So like a speck of salt right beside the ocean. So the speck of it's just a speck of salt. It can say, "Oh, I'm solid. I'm not like the water." No, you can see me. I have color, and I'm so valuable, and all these things. So you need for the food, you need me, or medicines, you need me. But it's just talking right beside the ocean, right? And at some point, this speck of salt, either you use it or not, it will dissolve, right? It's not like that forever. Like that, even consciousness, the idea or the self factor, even, or try to separate. So people talk about oneness. all these things. So we try to separate it and isolate ourselves, but still we are in it. We don't know this. But it brings like opposite or negative factors that happen. So externally also this happens, internally also, spiritual wise. So there was a beautiful teacher in Vietnam, actually. He's a Vietnamese, but he lived in, Plum Village, right? In France. His name, I don't know. I'm pronouncing it pro Chitnatan. And he would take a piece of paper and he would say, like, the oceans, the stars, the seas, the galaxies, everything is in these bit of paper, which is true, right? I was thinking, piece of paper? No? So, but it's coming from the trees. For the trees, you need the climate, the fertile, the soil, the water, the minerals, all that. And then the seasons, then the stars, no, the galaxies, the universe, the rain, and all these things all combine and just in this space of paper. Not that they are flowing there or anything, but it's all like all these causes good together and made that result at that time. No, so likewise, then if a piece of paper is like that, what about us, right? Uh, think of that, no? If a piece of paper is like that, uh, so so actually they mention, and there were different things in ancient India also. They used to believe like plants were also animals, not the oneness of that everything is like there's life and all this, everything should live. They thought it had a consciousness, so they used to call it ekajivi. Ekajivi. So they had some ideas also, like some ascetics were like killing these things just by walking. But what to do, like when they are sprouting? No, how if it's everywhere, how to avoid, right? But they were accusing also this also happened at that time. And but in specific, very nicely, very specifically, it is mentioned the process seems the same. For example, if you take like a child coming to the mother's womb and say a bean or something like sprouting, like it comes from our umbilical cord, there's a small first, maybe the first roots coming, right? You can see it's then what happens, it slowly starts like the tiniest leaves come up, and no, like the baby also limbs start showing, and then it gets more solid and solid. Likewise, the small plant also it starts growing, right? And then you can plant it, or if it's already there, it starts growing unless it's harmed by something. No, the child also same, right? Child also has many obstacles to pass. No, then after that, what happens? It comes to its maximum peak, and then it grows fruits, maybe new trees or new plants, like a new generation, and then slowly it starts decaying. And then after maybe a long period, even maybe sometimes thousands years, some plants or trees, and then you see like it collapses and then it starts decaying. So in humans also we see like, okay, from the tiniest or place where you cannot even see, it starts growing. Bean or something you can see, at least a seed, right? We come from a place that even a microscope, it's very difficult to see, right? Ancient times they used to say, if you take a horse's hair, dip it in sesame oil, and then stroke it like 7 times, the little bit of oil that is on the tip of the horse's hair is like the first time in the mother's womb. Wow. So they explain like that. So we came from a place like that. And then we go become younger, maybe some people like they have their children, next generations and all, and then they have their most strongest stage, and then slowly start aging, no? And that's that's their life story. It ends right at some point. So the thing is that trees, they can make new life, but there's not a thing like they would go to a next life,
Mm.
because no consciousness. They feel or react. There are some plants. in some countries, Anthea, when the locusts are coming, they get to know it miles away. So they start dropping their leaves. Really? So the locusts, the crickets, no? And they eat like vast areas, no? So nobody knows, there's no clear explanation until now. And even little plants, you see, like some plants, like when you just put a touch, they slowly, and then some sunflowers and all, they bloom towards the sun. They react, right? And some even catch like insects and all also, no? So they also feel and there, but we cannot say they have a consciousness. And human beings, what happens is, it is mentioned like uh, we are born again, or we get born. Uh, it could be the heavens, or in some places it's human lives and all, even bad places. So there are many explanations. So that is the difference. And here we can think and we can do something as human beings also, because we have this consciousness, but it can have an how to say, negative effect also. Uh, but trees and all, like, that's why they are so, how to say, generous, or like kind towards us, though we even harm them. Yeah, they withstand all that. We'll talk about those. So it's very nice. There are nice ancient examples and all that. So, but still they support us, right? And the pain factor and all is not mentioned. Like for a human, if somebody hurts somebody, they really feel the pain, no? But because there's no consciousness, that doesn't mean people have to destroy nature or anything. But how to say, like, it said like no kind of pain, no, the thing that happens to a being doesn't happen to a tree. So there's a difference in that. Uh, so it's, and it's, some places it's mentioned as karma, and for the plants it's niyama they call like some factors that happen. Karma niyama for animals, and bija niyama is for plants.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, please continue. Sorry. Yeah.
That's fine. Don't apologize because it's all fascinating. It's really, really fascinating. And yeah, so with plants, it's interesting because yeah, there's definitely an energetic sort of exchange that I experience with plants.
Mhm,
And over the past probably a year, I've really tuned into that and nurtured it in terms of I live in a small apartment, but
mhm,
I have some indoor plants and I look after them really well and I
mhm,
talk to them and water
mhm.
them and look after them.
Oh,
And I'm sure that they somehow there's like an energetic awareness of me.
yes.
And I also have a cat that I is my pet cat. And so I share my space with the plants and my cat, and there's like energy exchange with all of us.
Mhm,
But what I had also practiced over the past year is really greeting trees and
mhm,
plants and flowers and asking if I can touch them.
mhm,
And also asking sometimes if I want to pick a flower or a leaf, just saying, do I have your permission to pick your leaf or your flower? And it's a really beautiful experience. I have found it a really beautiful experience. And then bringing home some of the parts of the flowers or the trees, the leaves, making some mandalas, so doing a bit of
mhm.
artwork
Oh,
on the
really?
floor. Yeah. And also then using some of the pieces of the trees and plants and flowers, maybe to make some tea. So just adding a little flower or a leaf. And I really enjoy it anyway, and it feels really, really lovely. So
Mhm,
that's some ways that I have been connecting with Mother Nature more recently. And also in terms of animals, breeding animals, and when I see pet dogs, people walking dogs, it's quite
mhm,
common in Australia. I look at the dog's eyes and say, I honor you. And also, there's a lot of pigeons in some places. Particularly, I catch the train to work, to and from work, and
Mhm.
at the particular train station, there's a lot of pigeons. And they were originally pets, and they would have been used for carrier pigeons to carry
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
messages in the wars and things like that. But now they probably will let go when there's more wild flocks of the pigeons. But they were originally pets and working birds as well because they did their work. So when I see them, I say hello to them,
Mhm.
and there's a little water bowl. It's water provided for humans as well to fill up water bottles. But I fill up their water bowl and I clean the water bowl for them.
Mhm.
And I've been reading and studying more about birds and animals and um, their ability to communicate with us and our ability to communicate with them. And it says that I've learned that, and I've learned through my own experience as well, that the pigeons know who I am now. So when
Uh-huh.
I walk up, they
Really?
won't fly away
Uh-huh.
because I speak calmly to them. And
Uh-huh.
apparently they can recognize people who are kind to them. So
Uh-huh.
then they come up and drink their water. And yeah, so I really enjoy things like that.
Mhm.
What else did I want to say? So that's about connecting with animals. So what I would love to talk about now are some other practices to connect more with Mother Nature. Um, yeah, so I'll hand it over to you to
Mhm.
talk about some examples or um, particular things that you might like to talk about now.
Uh-huh. There was a person I met s- uh, a short, how to say, a little while from now. Like she was a young person from Spain, and it was very interesting because we don't hear the term much, but it was called forest bathing, and we, we don't know the term very much. I didn't know the term, sorry, yeah. And then we had a discussion and all at like two discussions maybe, and then this person, they go to the forest and uh, they hug trees. There are people called tree huggers also, right? They hug trees, no? And then yeah, I then actually this came from Japan, the roots of it. And this young lady, she really likes to be in the forest, actually forest, and then she goes and bees with nature a lot, and she doesn't mind like getting her feet muddy. She just walks barefoot and all that. So it's good to see, in the new generation and people like that, because all like people were like that, no? They used to be with nature. They used to go and pick the berries or herbs, and get the firewood even, no? So they were always with nature. So they used to walk barefoot sometimes, no? And that would the dew, the grass, and all would touch. And these are like surfaces that has many connections to many organs, no? So many cultures had these before. And then I just checked like online and all that. And even in Japan now, the doctors say like if you feel stressed or even for like symptoms of sickness, go to the forest. So they have actually made paths through forest. I hopefully it's like I think it's safe, no? And then yeah, surely no. Then they can go and be with nature. So yeah, like we surely should expose children in a safe way, and they could play and just jump on into like safe streams and bath, no, and play around. uh, those days like children would just hang on a branch and so something, and then jump into like a pool which was safe, no, and then come home muddy and all, play with soil, no, and all these imaginary things, no, all this. So they were healthy, they were strong, no. And even animals, when they like play around, even if it's play fighting, they get stronger, they get more healthier, no? And they are very active. So yeah, surely like we have to find more and more ways, even for ourselves. No, I was there in the forest also for like 10 years. So Yeah, it's so refreshing. And first you like, because you are not very used to some certain place, but later it becomes so at home, and you feel like you're Tarzan. No, luckily there's nobody else now, so you're like Tarzan, and you just try to climb every place, go every place. There's nobody seeing you, no. So and even the trees and the body starts changing. There was one place, and there like it was said for a specific reason also. There were some trees, when you go near them, there's like a rash that happens. No, actually, they were purposely planted for like unwanted people not to hang around, it seems. These caves, I asked why, no, there's so many. So actually, people like who wanted practitioners to be at peace, they have planted these plants. And if you apply something like soap, this gets worse. And it's itchy and you start scratching, it becomes like big, like bruises and all. But when you stay for some time, it all stays. You can even hug one of those trees, nothing happens. It's like they understood, like, okay, this guy is not a problem or anything. You can touch. Before that, it's like really itchy. Like there's like a shock like thing you feel. But if you go somewhere even for a few days and come back, the cycle starts again. Really. But if you stay there like for long times, it's like everything like recognizes you, and even the snakes and all these animals, and you can just stay there and see even leaves falling, the monkeys playing around, what they are doing. And you, when some food you have, you place it far away, and then foxes and these animals start coming and eating, and you don't try to go near them, you just let them as they are. But it's so nice and so refreshing. Then so we can have mobile devices, all this technology, but after some time, if you stare at a phone also, like, it's tiring, no? Even if you watch a movie or something, no, on a mobile device or computer, after some, you cannot watch like 3 or 4 movies in a row, right? Uh, You cannot, even your best favorite ones, if you try to watch in a sequence, no? One after cannot do, right? But there you can just like stay. It's so soothing and so cooling. And hopefully there's ecotourism and many things coming up. But the irony is like people first destroyed most of it. And now they're like again bringing it back, but at a big price, no? Like a cost for the people who want to have it. So that is the crazy thing, but we can still do it by ourselves also. Yeah, let's get into it. Like what you said, how to connect, right?
Okay, so thank you for sharing so much about that. And I'm really pleased that you shared a bit about your experience of living in the forest, because that was one of the things I was going to ask about.
Oh.
And I would love to hear at some stage more about your experience living in the forest, because I think that would just be amazing, 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 amazing. All right. So what I have got down here, so I've talked about talking to plants and trees and animals, protecting them. We can pray for Mother Nature. We can pray for the protection of Mother Nature. Uh, we can also look at our farming practices. I think
Mm.
there's a lot of work that could be done with our farming practices, both with agriculture, so growing crops and things like that, as well as um, raising animals for food. And I also wanted to mention about natural medicine, and this is something that we've
Mhm.
touched on a few times. And perhaps one of our weeks we might have a whole evening on natural medicine. So, what I wanted to share about with our farming practices. So, these are my personal opinions. I'm not
Mm.
an expert in this area, but I speak about what I've seen in my 52 years on this planet. And my my belief is that farming practices have grown and grown and grown and grown as our populations have grown. And for me personally, I have chosen to have a, a mostly largely plant-based diet out of respect to animals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I choose not to eat chicken or beef. I do eat lamb sometimes. I do eat seafood and I do eat eggs of chickens. But because I really love chickens and I've had pet chickens and I've
Mm-hmm.
hugged them and treated them like babies.
Mm-hmm.
So once I did that, it was like, no, I can't eat them
Yeah.
anymore. And also cows and dairy cows in Australia. Um, I don't believe that they're treated in the kindest way. So for me, I choose not to eat them. Um, on top of that, I'm a Muslim person, so I look at eating food that is halal. So that means that seafood is generally halal. Halal, the term means acceptable or lawful. And then looking at any meat that I eat. So if I was to eat chicken or beef and the lamb that I eat, that it's been slaughtered in a way that is kind to the animal and that it's slaughtered in the name of one God, which is Allah. So that's another factor. And it actually goes a bit further than that. It's not just the way that the animals are killed, but it's also about how they were treated before they were killed. So it goes back to that. So it's about the animals having a really good life. And even when they are slaughtered, it's there are rules and regulations about not having the animals together so that they're not frightened, but keep putting them separately. And then, yeah, so it's about really a lot of respect for animals. And as a Muslim, we believe that, or the teachings of Islam are that we've been given animals and plants to eat and to nurture us and nourish us. But it is our responsibility to look after them and treat them with a lot of respect. So that's, I won't say too much more about farming practices. These are my personal beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
People might argue with me about that, and that's perfectly fine. Everybody is entitled to
Mm-hmm.
their own personal beliefs. But for me as well, what it comes down to is that I don't want to be consuming food that has negative energy associated with it. So, for example, I don't want to to consume energy from an animal that's been frightened, that hasn't been treated well. And so it's goes even more. So I've got there's the respect side of the animal, that I love animals and that I respect them and I want them to be treated really well. But it's also an energetic issue for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I wanted to share about farming practices. Would you like to share something about farming practices or anything else about the topic?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, like so now we see like GMO products, genetically modified, and then people are understanding and they're even changing the labels now. They don't say that term even because it's people don't like it. So this is having a big impact, and even the dairy industry, like you said, they are like they treat an animal like it's some a profit making machine or a crop. So the cow, she's bred in a separate way, and even their milking organs and all are very huge than average cow. And then what they do is they forcibly impregnate them. uh, so and then they take remove the calf. uh, because and then what happens is they put sometimes on like a rotating platform, and they just drain sometimes even blood, and even sometimes things like pus and all also goes with that. Huh? So it's a very bad and a cruel thing. And soon as the profit margin goes away, they are sent to the slaughterhouse. Huh? So that is one. The chickens, they feed them, force feed them. They are given all. That's why children and people, they are even bodies, even little girls, they mature huh, fast now because the hormones and all are fed. And recently I saw uh, for uh, pigs, uh, the video, like there was a big conveyor belt and all rotten stuffs of supermarkets and all, they're put into a conveyor belt with the plastic packing. And then what happens? This goes up the packing, and it's like there's a process that happens. And surely it was a guy who was there, and he said like, and it's like biscuit powder. It comes to another place, but it goes all in the plastic packing and everything. And it comes like a powder, and this is for like food for pigs. And he said like this is what he said like swines are eating this, you are eating the swine. So and so there are many things in at so even the poultry, I don't know why people want to like make everything a mess of everything, no? Like they have machines and they force feed the ducks and the chickens and all, and they close it and let them like on purpose force feed them, actually put a tube into their and then so it's even the male little chicks and all, they have no chance. If you see those videos and all, like it's very heartbreaking. So uh, they manipulate, twist, and those days they would not kill animals like this. Even the milking cows, they would not even touch them. So and in some cultures, people who ate were the ones actually first who were chased as outcast. Really, who drank liquor as well as who ate, especially cows or animals like that, were the ones who were chased. Later, they brought it to like a ethnic or social caste system. But the first outcasts were like people, you did something very bad, so don't be what we don't want to associate you. So that's why they were outcasted. And they in I remember like our grandfathers and all, they used to keep even the buffalo and uh, in their yards until they became elderly and they passed away. And then I also have buried like one big buffalo and all, massive. It was so big, like but old. And we dig a small pit, but it almost like it took only half of the body. And we were afraid also because the body, soon as it was bloated, the stomach, and when we put like pulled and put half of it, it suddenly made a sound, no, like because the gas came out from the nostrils and the teeth are stuck. We thought, oh my goodness, are we like really putting a live one into the pit, right? No, it was just the gas coming out of like we are talking now. So yeah, they make everything so cruel and wicked and like artificial. So the chickens also, they just stay in one place, no, and then they are like, and then there's some people, they use this chicken feces. It falls into a conveyor belt that goes around and then mixes with other things and comes back as chicken feed for them again. Really. So they have found so many twisted ways of doing, and they give them antibiotics and then like hormones because they want to keep the cost like minimum and the profit high, right? And quickly. So they limit their space and all. So and especially like what we eat now. So more and more they're turning it to artificial. So you just see like there are even our natural bananas are different. The wild ones used to have a lot of seeds, and they are so small in the size like one of our fingers. So even people from some countries, they show like some places they have something similar to the original. Uh, So when you compare those things, many things are so much modified. And then what happens is when you start playing around with nature, the seasons change, Anthea. Huh? So that's why they had specific times to do like plantations. For example, we had 2 seasons here. Then some guy got a bright idea. Why not I put in the middle time also? So everybody started. So some places they were cutting the harvest, somebody was already planting. So it actually affects everything, the bees and the pollinations and all this. It changes the climates also, the seasons. So now here also there's no like a clear cut of seasons now. It awkwardly rains at some time. Then the same people who are cultivating, they are affected because when the harvest is ripe and all, if the rains come, they get spoiled. So and natural all the natural plants and some like some countries they took the original plants and they gave these modified versions, and you can see when you were small even you could just throw a tomato seed and the plant would grow and give even fruits. But now they are like neutered. There's nothing there. So think that same energy when it goes to your body, what happens? Uh, so like yeah, surely like there will be a time we'll have to realize and try to grow our food and eat. Uh, and because they are playing around with everything. It's very dangerous and very unhealthy. No wonder like things like cancer, these things are spreading like wildfire, right? Even children have them. No, it's very dangerous.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for sharing those insights and your knowledge as well. So there are a few things I wanted to share. They've sort of gone from my mind. I was thinking of them as you were talking, but what I will share is that, and this relates to natural medicine because nutrition
Mhm.
is a part of natural medicine. So in, 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, the people who are native to the land.
Mhm.
So in Australia's case, it was the Aboriginal people or First Nations people. They they lived in tribes. They moved around, so they were nomads. They knew the plants that were safe to eat. They knew the plants that were medicinal, healing
Mhm.
purposes. They knew the plants that were dangerous, and they would have known the animals that were dangerous, and they seasons and the moon and the stars, and walked on the earth very, very lightly. And so there were no plastics, there were no
Mhm.
anything that they used. They like just say, I don't know, use fire or leaves of plants or whatever. When they discarded it, it didn't just stay there.
Yes.
It would,
Mhm.
you know, decay. It would biodegrade. So it was biodegradable. So now, very, very different. And yes, the seasons are definitely changing here. And I have experienced that as well. And also in terms of nutrition and natural medicine, I work in a supermarket and I can see that most of the time we have bananas all year round in Melbourne.
Mhm.
First of all, bananas don't even grow in Melbourne. So they come
Mhm.
from the north of Australia.
Mhm.
And when things happen like this cyclone, we won't be able to have bananas. So, yet again, another way that Mother Nature is showing how powerful she is, and we're
Mhm.
being reminded of how we rely on her. And also, more recently, there have been issues with egg supply because I think there's been an avian flu that's been affecting
Mhm.
chickens. So the
Mhm.
chickens haven't been able to produce eggs. But I did see a beautiful story on Instagram. I follow quite a few people who keep chickens as pets because I
Mhm.
love chickens, and these people treat their chickens really beautifully.
Mhm.
And what one lady was saying that she had a large number of her hens were all broody, laying eggs that were fertilized at the same time.
Mhm.
And with the comments in the to her post, it looked like, and she was asking for feedback about whether somehow the chickens knew that there was an issue with disease and that they
Mhm.
were trying to repopulate quickly. And I thought
Mhm.
that was fascinating. And I
Mhm.
wrote back, yes, I think that we're all connected, and I think at some level they know. So nature is also intelligent, very, very
Mhm.
intelligent. And yes, there's the detrimental effects by mankind, humankind, messing around with genetics of plants and
Mhm.
seasons and over farming and farming practices that are not necessarily kind to animals or plants. But Mother Nature, we can look to the positive and look at simple things like chickens laying more eggs to
Mhm.
create a
Wow.
larger population of chickens
Mhm.
and yet again, so generous because it's about feeding us. It's about feeding us the eggs. So I
Mhm.
thought that was fascinating.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. I met a lady like she had chickens and she had done a study and wrote a book also. Maybe I
Oh,
can
wow.
connect her with you yet. Like it's really nice, no? When you said these things, I was remembering her. Her name is Sunny and Sunny Franson, and she had wrote a book, and she said, "You you don't even can imagine how intelligent chickens are. We just think like, oh, they just peck on things and eat, and okay, like that's their thing, right? But they said like the social structures they have, and she's a brilliant person. Like she was a wildlife biologist, and
Oh, wow.
so she was like she was watching these, no, and she found them so fascinating. She wrote a book also about them. So let me try to connect with her, you, and
Okay.
yeah, it will
Hmm.
be very nice, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I really, really love chickens. So I'll just talk a little bit more about
Sure.
natural medicine. And yeah, I mentioned that the native peoples of different lands knew about natural medicine
Mm,
and which plants and berries and bark and parts of the leaves. And I've actually studied natural medicine. I've studied 3 years of a degree to be a naturopath or
wow.
a
Uh-huh.
doctor of natural medicine. So basically, I find it quite fascinating. And what one of the things that they taught us very early on was that before we were connected by letters or social media or telephones or anything
Mhm.
like that, that different communities around the world somehow were had similar ways of doing things and we're doing
Mhm.
things at a similar time. And there's no real rational explanation for that other than we're
Really?
all
Uh-huh.
connected.
Uh-huh.
So that's something, yeah, I wanted to share. So, yeah, there's a
Please
lot of
explain
popular,
that a little bit more. It's very interesting. How
yeah, yeah.
how do they say like they were connected without even knowing?
So I can't remember exactly
Okay,
because it was
no.
it was a little while ago, but
Uh-huh.
I just remembered them teaching us that
Uh-huh.
um, basically there were all the different tribes or villages of
Uh-huh.
people around the world. So what they were doing was they were I think it, I can't
Sure, sure.
say exactly because I can't remember, but there was a similarity in the way that they were thinking or that they were
Uh-huh.
doing similar things,
Uh-huh.
yet they were geographically really far away. So
Far away.
there wasn't a rational explanation for why
Mhm.
they were doing similar things apart
Mhm.
from that they were part of the human race, part
Sure,
of
sure.
nature,
Uh-huh.
and we're all connected in some way.
Yeah, that's a great thing you brought up because you see like structures like pyramids, no? And they are not only in Egypt, no, like there are structures like in South America, even in the Europe region, no, and in pagodas and things in like Asia and all. And so I don't know, like so they are so far apart, no, and they didn't have internet or we don't know, maybe better is it with the mind, right? Uh,
Okay.
Telepathy and all these things, no. So, and the technology and all these things, and there are so many similarities where they have taken massive rocks and like perfect like laser tech like cut edges and all these things, and still people in this era cannot even figure out. They think they had this all these tools and pulling with ropes and pulleys and all, and the calculation of their time duration and how it came up, it even doesn't match. Say if you say with these tools they assume they had at that time, And then if you make like this with this much of rock, these things, it doesn't match. So yeah, so true. Yeah.
Yeah, that even reminds me of Stonehenge and some of the other structures in stone sort of structures in the United Kingdom and Scotland
Mhm.
and Ireland. They don't know how those stones got there.
Mhm.
They don't understand fully about what the purpose of them is, but um, often from my knowledge, there's an alignment between the stars and the sun and the planets,
Mhm.
even with the pyramids and the Stonehenge as well. So it's just fascinating. So as you
Definitely.
said, telepathy, probably hundreds of years ago, it was a lot stronger because there weren't as
Mhm.
many distractions as we have today. Mm.
Mhm. Yeah, which is a great thing. Like they sometimes take days to talk with trees and animals. No, talking means not just like talking with your mouth. No, you can talk with your heart, right? And feel it. No. So it was later brought into like fairy tales or stories we heard as children. Now I think not that also, no? And it doesn't seem like no, now there are not many stories like that even. But when you were kids and we also was like fascinating, or can I talk with my cat or dog or anything, no? So then likewise like they talk, no, people talking with plants, no? And so that means the connection then verbally or anything. But still, like you mentioned, Anthea, like they have done test and even the water crystallize in a separate way. And they have kept like plants just to check. Some they have harassed verbally, telling bad things, bad words, very harsh thing. Other things they were very kind and uh, they bloomed and blossomed and all. And other ones were shrouded like very tight, sometimes with thorns. And there were some people who went to like a orange tree or something that had spikes or thorns and said like every day this guy used to go and say like you don't need those thorns no more. I'm there to protect you. And what had happened? This tree had shed the thorns. Really? So it's fabulous, no? These things what people can. And before, even if they needed timber, it says like there were rituals and all. They would not take a chainsaw and just like brutally cut off all this just for one tree, that also for a specific purpose. Huh? And they would go and offer like things like lights and all these things. And they would plant like 10 more plants and then only and ask for forgiveness from the animals who are there, maybe deities who are there, offer merits and do all these things and then only take their traits. Yes. But for that, they will plant like 10 more. But now it's not the case. No, they use some big machinery or something and just acres and acres, no? Deforestation and all. But what you say is so true, Anthea.
Mm. Mm. So what's coming through to me is that as being stewards or stewardesses of Mother Nature, it's our responsibility to live more in harmony with Mother Nature.
Mhm.
And we've talked about some ways that we can do that through prayer, through spending time with Mother Nature, through talking to the plants and trees. And as Sanji said, we can talk with our hearts. It doesn't have to be with, verbally talking, protecting them, looking at our farming practices, looking at, kindness to animals, looking at our diets. So, do we necessarily need
Mhm.
to be eating as much meat as we do? And considering the animals and the lives of the animals and how they've been treated before
True.
they come to our plate. Natural medicine, and we haven't talked so much about that. I think we could talk a lot more about that. So perhaps we'll
Mhm.
dedicate a whole event for that, a whole session one evening,
Mhm.
because there's a lot more that I would love to talk about and discuss with natural medicine. So I've really loved our discussion tonight. It's been really
Yeah, yeah,
fascinating,
it's very
and
nice.
yeah, and it's not all doom and gloom. there's a lot of positivity,
Positivity.
and there's still, sometimes I get really sad about the way that the planet is treated and the animals and plants, waterways and the air. However, there are things we can do, and we can make a change by ourselves, and we can always, talk to other people, and even by prayer. And that can be just something we do within our own heart. Just, just praying for the best and the protection of the plants and animals.
Yeah, yeah. So as a final note, I'll just say like one time enlightened being was accused. And they say like enlightened beings, they don't have any dirty thing in their mind. No, it's totally eradicated. And what he brought, he was accused, no, and there were people there. And he brought the example, I live my life as the earth. The earth, you can bury any dirty thing. Uh, or you can like how to say like even plant good things and do, but it allows you, or it doesn't mind. Uh, and then he said, I live my life like fire. You can burn impure things, or you can cook food and all in fire, right? I live like the wind, which doesn't have definition of like nobody is it a good person or a bad person. It doesn't make, it gives life to all. I live like the water. I can clean dirty things, or you can drink it and live also. So he took it as example, but we see like life gives us all these things, and whatever we do, it still provides, no? So why not protect it, no? And take care of it. It will be for all, oneself and everybody, or generations to come. And it doesn't have to be mass project, so it is good if we can do, but planting a tree, not littering around, using like you said, uh degradable, no, like things, and minimizing plastic, recycling, no, reusing, not just throwing things around, no. Yeah, even your trash, no, we can be very careful. And yeah, like the indigenous people, actually they lived a very nice life, no. What you say when you were telling that it was even the things they put aside, that was not plastic or something, no, that would say like hundreds of years, right? Which was very nice. And those days we had this, we used to use some thing that was like made out of some leaves, or and people wanted it fast and easy. But now we have tons of plastic, even islands of plastic, right? There are islands of plastic actually in the ocean. Islands. So, yeah, it affects everybody. So why not we start it with us, and then it can go on to everybody, and still the earth and Mother Nature, she still provides. That's why we are all here today, no? Yeah, so thank you so much, Anthea. It's a great topic and always like very inspiring and very nice to talk to you. And thank you, everybody, and people who are watching this later on also. And uh, have you all have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Sanji, and a pleasure as always to discuss things with you and hear your insights and knowledge. And thank you, everybody who watches this in the future, and I hope it's of benefit.